God damn it. Stupid refurbished appliances.
Alright folks, so welcome back to Heaps of Games. I'm looking at Saints Row on the PS5 and I picked this up from CEX for about 15 quid. Now I've been observing this game over the last couple of months because I know it released originally to absolutely awful reception, critically and from the user scores. Look, I don't concern myself too much with reviews at all. I play stuff, I buy stuff, and I make my own decision majority of the time, but I avoided this one because it really looked like the consensus across the board is that this wasn't a good game. But I kept my ears open and I said if I could get this at a really cheap price, I would pick it up anyway eventually. And I was thinking ahead and I was thinking maybe a few patches, we'll see where it is. And my decision to buy this was actually based off the news last week that was released that there was a patch coming out on Tuesday the 9th of May, which essentially reformed how the combat is designed in Saints Row. And the developers were really bigging this up as a pretty big change to how the game actually plays. Now, bear in mind, I don't have a comparison point and I never played it when it originally came out. So this is me going into this completely fresh and like a brand new game in essence. And you know what? I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's silly madness. It's turn your brain off, but it's fun. It's fun nonetheless. Now, it's not going to win any awards or anything, absolutely not, but I can't stop playing it right now. I was playing it yesterday evening and all through for about 4 or 5 hours, and I struggled to put it down, really. Now, bear in mind, I went into this with my kind of set of open world rules where I pretty much ignore all side filler and just play the main missions, and again, that's been working for me in this. Same with Far Cry 5 recently, so apply the same thought process there. Now, I also did some research on this, so if you are thinking of jumping into this, there's 2 things I'd recommend you change. First thing is, if you have a PS5, I found the best results at 1440p in high frame rate mode. And then the other thing is to increase the challenge somewhat, because the default difficulty is quite easy, to be honest. So I adjusted the danger level up to 7 or 8, which basically lets you take a little bit more damage, and ultimately it gives you a more significant challenge. So basically, look, if you're familiar with Saints Row, combat is kind of primary in this. It being an open world game, yes, but there's a lot of guns, there's a lot of shooting, and there's a lot of melee combat. And yeah, it feels good to play. I particularly like the haptic feedback on the PS5 and the setup there, and the guns feel forceful, they feel impactful. And bear in mind again, I don't think this was the case a couple of months back. It must be this patch that, again, I'm not familiar with because I don't have a comparison point. But yeah, the gunplay feels fun, it's enjoyable. And it's absolute mad mayhem. I've beaten about 15 plus missions now, and they've all been varied. They've all been high octane, majority of them, so I can't complain about the variety really. So once you complete a mission, you unlock cash, you unlock weapons, abilities, etc. Pretty standard open world fare, to be honest with you. But I do actually like the skill system in this, and you unlock them as you level up, and you can assign abilities to triangle, square, circle and X, and then you can activate them by holding down R1 and pressing the associated button. And you can carry these out in combat. They're pretty fun. In particular, I like the one you unlock fairly early on, which drops a grenade into someone's pants and then you pretty much launch them at other people. And ultimately it adds good variety to combat situations. The missions too, some of my favourite ones earlier on, as well as to destroy the construction site, where you're pretty much going around with this digger and you're essentially making shy of everything really, including people, cars and the whole construction site. A load of fun. It's not particularly inspired and it's something you've not seen before, but it genuinely doesn't stop it from being fun. And what I gotta say, performance wise, there's a lot going on with the explosions and the physics engine in this game. If you're playing it, you'll notice it straight away, and there's a ton of enemies on screen all the time really, especially when you're in combat. So it manages all that pretty well. Now I have a VRR enabled TV, which definitely helps that further. So if you have a TV that has VRR enabled, definitely set it on. Anyway, let's circle back real quick to my final thoughts on this game. A lot of fun, but bear in mind my entry point was only €15, and if you can get it at that price, it's hard not to recommend. And the other thing is, I've no predetermined bias against how the game was a couple of months ago, so I don't feel burned by anything. Sometimes just don't jump in and pre-order stuff, just wait. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching another video on Heaps of Games. I'll see you next one.